Eers and Beers, episode 57. What's on tap? Some spring game shenanigans. Some former Mountaineers find new homes. But first, as always, I'm Wesley Uhler, one half of the Eers and Beers podcast. What are we drinking? I'm keeping it simple today. Just a classic Bud Light. Nothing crazy. Gets the job done. It's Tuesday afternoon as I record this. So, yeah, I can't be drinking some, 8 or 9% beer here in the middle of the afternoon. I'm working from home today, so I got a little wiggle room for an afternoon beer. So we'll drink a Bud Light together. Salute. If I can get it open here. There we go. Spilled some on my laptop. Oh, no. Episode 57 here. If you're watching on YouTube, you will notice a little bit of a different setup. My wife and I are in the middle of selling our home, moving into a new home, staying in the same area, just upgrading a little bit, if you will. We live in a townhouse now, moving into a house. Get a yard, get a basement, all that good stuff for the dog, for our daughter, for hopefully more children on the way, and not imminently, but not too far away either. So if you're looking behind me, a little bit different of a setup than usual. Got some hockey jerseys and some WVU jerseys on this side. Got some Steelers jerseys and some WVU jerseys and some starter jackets on this side. I got my Dominion Post cover here from when WVU beat Miami and preserved the undefeated season in '93. So yeah, a little bit different of a setup here, at least in the interim until wifey and I get settled. Of course, our realtor came in and had to stage the house and redo my little office studio here and all that stuff. But we're making it work for now. Let's talk a little spring game. Let's talk a little Mountaineers finding new homes. And we'll start with the spring game, of course, because, there's two sports at WVU, football and spring football. Not actually, but I love that slogan. Here's some thoughts. Let's just get it all out there. Goose starting, I thought that was significant. Maybe I'm looking too much into that, but Goose gets the first run of reps at quarterback for the offense, and I think that makes sense because he looked the best out of any of the three guys. And, there's been a lot of reports that Garrett Green has been having had great spring practices and was maybe the leader in the clubhouse amongst the quarterbacks on the roster, not including JT Daniels. But I had heard that it's Goose, that Goose is the guy. And I think that played out a little bit on Saturday. It's only one game, and I use game with air quotes here. But Goose, Will Goose Crowder clearly looked the most confident and the most ready to play if the Mountaineers had a game this weekend, again, of the guys on the roster. I thought Nico showed that promise that we're all excited about, but it's clear that he still needs some polish. And, that shouldn't surprise anybody. In a normal timeline, Nico Marchiol would still be a senior in high school right now. He should be. He should be getting ready for the prom and parties and all that stuff that the rest of us did at the end of our senior years of high school, right? But he's not. He enrolled early. He's on campus. That's great. And so I think he is ahead of schedule in that regard. Showed a lot of promise, but it's clear that he still needs some polish, again, as just a kid who would normally still be in high school right now. A lot to get excited about there, but I do think that it all comes back to you don't want to, at the same time, throw him out there week one without giving him some time to just get his bearings. Because he's got, that's what I'm going to use all offseason into next year. Nico's got the promise, and he showed the promise, but he still needs some polish, and you don't want to throw him out there too early. Garrett Green didn't look great. I hope it was just a bad day for him. You never know what's going on. But I do keep thinking he might be the odd man out amongst these quarterbacks, right? One of them's going to transfer. That's just the world that we live in now in college athletics. And Garrett Green, he doesn't have the raw upside that Goose and Nico have and that Goose and Nico showed at times on Saturday. If Garrett Green stays and he fights for his position and he ends up playing games at some point, great for him. I think he could be a really good quarterback, if he just took a half step down, a G5 type school. But I'll give him the caveat. I hope it was just a bad day. Maybe he was nervous because he felt that was his big opportunity to show, that he should be the guy, all these different things. I keep coming back to, well, I don't think Garrett Green's a bad quarterback or anything. He just, again, doesn't have that raw upside, I think, that Goose and Nico certainly have. Aside from the quarterbacks, Man, a couple more observations. I think Lee Koba is going to be a dog. He wears that number 8. He looks a little bit like a bigger, more jacked, a thicker Carl Joseph, if you will, out there. I'm very excited to watch him play this year. I think he could be special. I'm really excited about the stable of running backs we have too. Now, it's hard to judge that off of a spring game because you're not playing real live football. It's close, but guys aren't hitting the running backs. There's not just the same pure amount of physicality. So it's tough to obviously judge the running backs in that regard, but they look talented. There's a lot of guys there, from Lim J. Dixon to Tony Mathis on down the list that I think are going to really help offset the loss of Letty Brown and maybe even, have an improved run game this year. They should behind an offensive line that is returning all 5 starters. I thought the offensive line looked really strong at points too. And maybe finally, in terms of just the pure game observations, because I don't want to try and dissect a bunch from of it. These are just the observations on the surface. I'm not as worried about the wide receivers as I was earlier in the offseason. I would still like to see an addition or two in the transfer portal because you need that depth. But I think, from Bryce Ford Wheaton, from Sam James, from Reese Smith, there's no need to panic over the wide receiver position. Again, I'd still like to see them add some depth in the portal here before we get to the regular season, before we get to Pittsburgh at Heinz Field against those stinking Pitt Panthers on September 1st. But I'm not as worried about wide receiver, as I was when we had a lot of guys transferring and, Winston Wright leaves and all these different things. Still not overly confident, but I'm not worried either. I think they'll be just fine. So that's about it from the game. What else do I got? Oh, James Gamitter. On the off chance that you're listening to this podcast, I know, really slim chance, but hey, you never know. Your parents are the best, dude. We had a tailgate set up in the light blue lot right by the F1 pole for those of you that are familiar, and Mr. and Mrs. Gamitter stopped by our tailgate when they were walking into the game, saw me and my friends and our kids and some of the shenanigans that we were having there. They stopped, they said hello. Great people. Mr. and Mrs. Gamitter, awesome. Mrs. Gamitter was hilarious. She was cracking us all up. So James, if by chance you're listening to this podcast, you got great parents, dude. They were a riot. What else? I hit the equipment sale before the spring game at the Caperton indoor facility. Got a basketball penny, got a soccer jersey, pretty cool equipment sale thing there. Although there's one thing that bothers me, and I get it. They've designed it. It's kind of like the Wild West in there. They just set up tables and they set up merch on all the tables, and it's first come, first serve. But there are people that literally come running in and they'll just grab armfuls, handfuls, as many jerseys or t-shirts or sweatpants as they can, and then they run over to a corner and they pick out the 2 or 3 or 4 that they want, and then they just leave everything else there. I mean, come on. We live in a society here, people. Can we be a little civilized? But shout out to WVU, the equipment sale. This is maybe the 2nd or 3rd time I've gotten there over the years. Always find some cool stuff. Like I said, I got a basketball warm-up penny that I will be wearing exclusively when I go to the beach, when I go to Hilton Head in July. I'm going to wear that every day. Also got a soccer jersey, which is pretty cool as well, too. And I think they were both like $15-20 a piece, something, so you can't beat the price on those either. But let's just, let's not go in there and wipe out the tables like we're, swan diving across the pong table at the frat house, people. Come on. But it was a great weekend. Perfect weather. We Airbnb'd a place in Sunnyside. It was great. The weather was awesome. The company was awesome. It was great getting back in Mountaineer Field. I took my 6-month-old daughter, Olivia, to Mountaineer Field for the first time. That was emotional. That was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. We were able to get in some of the box seats, at the top of the lower level, so we were out of the sun with my daughter. She did great, better than any of us expected. And we were there for pretty much the whole game. I mean, we left with like 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter. So great to get my daughter out there. Great to get the family and the gang all together. It was a perfect weekend in Morgantown. And we went to Fishbowl Friday night and Saturday night, so you can't beat that. We went to Old Fishbowl on Friday night. We went to New Fishbowl on Saturday night. Balanced diet right there, if you ask me. All right, some thoughts on our dearly departed, and then I'll get out of here because I do have to get back to work on this work-from-home day. Taking some time here to drink a Bud Light and talk the Mountaineers with you guys. Never hurt anybody. Our dearly departed. Jalen Bridges to Baylor, Sean McNeil to Ohio State, Akeem Messidor to shocking Miami. I know. How about that? I don't know. Let's start at the top with Jalen Bridges. I'm just going to be brutally honest here. What a lame-ass move by him to pose with the national championship trophy that Baylor won in 2021. I mean, really, JB, you're going to get all dressed up and your family and your girlfriend are going to wear the national championship shirts of a team that you competed against? I'm sorry. That bothers me more than him going to Baylor. I mean, listen, it's hard for me to get fired up about these things. I know how stupid I was when I was these kids' age. I don't like to hold grudges against them. Yes, would I like it if Jalen Bridges wouldn't have transferred to a Big 12 school? Absolutely. I mean, go to the SEC, go to the Big 10, do whatever. But what really bothers me more than that is posing with the national championship trophy that not only you had nothing to do with, but that you competed against the team that won that flippin' thing. That's a lame-ass move. That's a female dog move. You're cucking yourself, JB. Pose with a national championship trophy of a team that you competed against multiple times. You know, a lot of people have been throwing around that word soft, and I think as sports fans, we do that too often, but there's only one way to break that down, and that's S-A-W-F-T. Soft. Sean McNeil to Ohio State. Good for him. I think his game will be well suited for the Big Ten. He should have more space to operate on the outside. Pretty cool. If you saw the video that they posted, that he and Ohio State posted of him making his commitment to the Buckeyes head coach, he was actually still wearing a WVU basketball shirt. So good on Sean McNeil. Good on Sean McNeil not posing with a bunch of trophies that he had nothing to do with. And we wish that guy all the best. I'll tell you what, though, it's going to be absolute scenes whenever Jalen Bridges comes back to the Coliseum. And then to football, Akeem Messidor to Miami. I know, we're all shocked. Benedict Adai strikes again. But my favorite thing about the whole situation was how Akeem Messidor pretended to look at other schools. You know, he's on his social media. I got an offer from USC. I got an offer from Tennessee. Big shout out to Auburn for the offer. I really like how he pretended to look at other schools and like he didn't decommit from WVU and commit to Benedict Adai, and everyone knew he was going to Miami this whole time. But hey, at least I've heard Miami is a lot safer than Morgantown. He's got that going for him. Benedict Adai. Wanted for treason. And shout out to WVU baseball before I get out of here as well, too. 11th inning win, extra inning win at Pitt at PNC Park, 3-2. Always love it when WVU beats Pitt in any sport. It doesn't matter what it is. The Mountaineers are now 4-0 all time at PNC Park. You just love to see it. Lost series to Oklahoma State and to Texas Tech, but we're able to get games in that series. Still, I think, on the right track. So keep it going, Maisie and the boys. And let's have some fun with baseball down the stretch here. That's all I got for you guys this week. This was episode 57 of, Bud Light, making me burp. Once again, episode 57 of the Eers and Beers podcast. Get us wherever you get your podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. And yeah, I'm telling you what, I had a lot of fun this past weekend. That spring game, you know, taking the family, meeting up with some of my family, Airbnb-ing a place, getting all the nieces and nephews and everything together. That's going to have to be a new tradition. So that's all I got for you guys this week. We'll talk again soon. Let's pick up some transfers, and let's not pose with national championship trophies that we didn't win and that we actually competed against. Talk to you guys next week. Let's go Mountaineers. Let's go drink some beers.